Hi, Deb DeWolff here at Cool Tools, and today we're so excited to be bringing you a brand new product called FS999 Fine Silver Clay. FS999 was invented by Bill Struve of Metal Adventures, and he also formulated our Easy 960 clay, which you might already be familiar with. It's a wonderful product. We're so happy to add it to our line of products, and we make FS999 very proudly right here at the Cool Tools facility in the good old US of A. When you first take FS999 out of the package, you're going to notice some things right off the bat. First thing you might notice is that it's much whiter than other clays that you might be used to working with. This doesn't affect the finished product at all, but I just happen to like it because I think it's prettier and I think it looks cleaner than other clays. So another thing that you are going to notice right away is its very fine texture and its creamy consistency, very similar to Easy 960 actually. It takes texture extremely well. It takes and holds the texture really, really well. As you will see, as I add the clay here to one of our wonderful, beautiful antique molds, and I'm going to use about 10 to 12 grams here and push this into the mold. And another awesome attribute of FS999 is its low shrinkage rate. It only shrinks about 8 to 9%, which is one of the lowest shrinkage rates on the market. And that's a really good thing too. So here I've pushed some clay into the mold, and you can see here, this is the same mold I used for this pendant that I made with FS999. And we're going to visit this a little bit later. I'll take it out and show you what it looks like and how well it took the texture. So we'll set that aside. Another really cool thing about FS999 is its extreme flexibility in the dried or greenware state. I cut this, I rolled it out with a number 2 rolling frame, and I cut it into this shape, and as you can see, it's dried. I dried it in the dehydrator, and it's still extremely flexible. One of the great things about this flexibility, among many other advantages, would be to use it with a silhouette machine. And I don't personally use a silhouette machine, but I know there are many metal clay artists that do. And I think once they become familiar with this FS999 product of ours, you'll see many wonderful projects utilizing that technique. Another awesome thing about FS999 is that when you're working with it in its dried state, if you want to fasten dried components together in your project, you can do it with nothing more than water. And what I've done here is I extruded some FS999, and then I wrapped the extrusion around this brass tubing that I made just by taking round tubing and squeezing it in my bench vise. We sell here at Cool Tools the same product, smaller, that are used for cutting clay, but you could definitely use these if you wanted to. I just used a larger one so that you could see it better on camera. And here's the deal. I wrapped the extrusion around this form and I allowed it to dry, and then I cut it with a tissue blade so that I had nice flush ends. And here are the rings I got. It's much the same way you would be making jump rings with wire and then sawing them apart. This one I'd already stuck together with just a little bit of water, stuck the ends together. And now what I can do is, because of this flexibility, I can add rings like this and just stick the ends together with some water, very simply. I push the ends together and I hold them for a minute. And they're stuck together. And you can fire them just like that, and they'll stay together, they'll center together. So you can make a whole chain this way, and look how awesome that would be. Wouldn't it be a great bracelet or a necklace even? And it's not really that difficult to do, and you don't need a lot of paste. So that's a wonderful use of the clay. Here, I've got a couple of examples. These were test rings that we did. I made them in exactly the same way I made these. I extruded the clay in a half circle, wrapped it around a ring mandrel, cut them apart after they were dried, stuck the ends together with nothing more than water, and then they were fired. So there's that. FS999 can be fired with a torch. It can be fired in carbon in the case of using embeddables. And the kiln firing schedule is very comparable to that of other fine silver clays. And there is a kiln firing schedule along with the instructions that comes with the clay. Once the clay has been fired, you can do anything with it that you can do with other fine silver clays. You can brass brush it, you can tumble it, you can patina it, you can polish it if you have a flex shaft machine or a Dremel and the little polishing discs, or just a polishing pad. You can enamel it, or you can gold plate it, as in the case of this pendant. And I'll talk just a little bit about this pendant specifically and how this was made. So for this particular project, this pendant that I made with FS999, I pushed this into the mold earlier. Let's see what that looks like when we pop it out. And you can see how wonderfully the FS999 picks up any texture and holds it really well. Now, what I did in this case was let it dry and then went in with files, needle files, and filed away all of the extra clay around the outline of the flower. And then I sanded with the 3M sanding pads. I caught all of the dust and filing shavings in this nice tidy tray. And you want to remember to do that, because another really cool thing about FS999 is it makes wonderful creamy paste. So you want to save all of that dust so that you can do that, so that nothing is wasted. Here's one that I just put together. I made it exactly the same as I made this. It's in its greenware or dried state at this point. And I made another bale smaller than this one to show that you can make the bale any size. This bale was made this size to accommodate this chain that I had previously made by crocheting seed beads, and I wanted to use that in a project. But if you made a smaller bale, it probably goes a little bit nicer with the size of the flower, don't you think? And I cut the bale out using this Cool Tools template. This bale was made with the large pointy oval, and this bale was made with this smaller pointy oval. And it was done on a number 3 card thickness frame. And After the flour was dried and the bale was wrapped around a mandrel like this and dried, I drilled a hole through the end of the bale and through the flour, and I used a little piece of 14 gauge fine silver wire that I inserted through the hole to put the pieces together, and then I used some FS999 clay and pushed it into the hole on the front and the back of the bale and refined that after it was dry so the wire didn't show. I fired this at 1650 degrees or 900 Celsius for 2 hours. Now, one of the cool things about FS999 is that it will sinter at that temperature after only 30 minutes. These 2 rings that I showed you previously were done in just that way. We tested the firing at 30 minutes. These were fired at 1650 for 30 minutes on a bare kiln shelf, and as you can see, they sintered just beautifully. However, we would definitely recommend that you hold it at 1650 for the full 2 hours for optimum strength, and especially if you're working with a larger piece of clay, if your project has more clay. These rings, there's very little clay there, so there was no issue. So when I fired this piece, I fired it in a ceramic firing dish filled with aluminum hydrate for the full 2 hours. And I did that in aluminum hydrate to give the piece more support because I didn't want this bale to slump as it fired. And in the green state, or the dried greenware state here, you can see in comparison the shrinkage rate, and you can tell that there isn't very much shrinkage rate between the dried and the fired. So that's really cool. When this was finished firing in the kiln, I brass brushed it, and then I tumbled it for about an hour. And then I went ahead and gold plated just the center of the flower to go with the gold chain that I had used. Also, I finished it off with these beautiful filigree end caps that we sell here at Cool Tools. So I think it turned out rather well for my first project with FS999. We know that you are going to love FS999. It's a beautiful clay. It performs very well. I hope you try it, and I hope that you liked our video. Thanks so much for watching.
Visit our Learning Center at cooltools.us for more cool jewelry making videos. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and be sure to sign up for our email list to be the first to hear about new videos, new products, and other cool stuff from Cool Tools.